Right, morning everyone. Welcome. See the people are crawling in slowly. Just past the top of the hour, so welcome all. And
can I say happy belated birthday to Nods for yesterday? You glowing, a year older and wiser.
Good. July baby. There we go.
Thanks, Zipo.
Happy birthday, Zipo.
Thank you.
So you had an excuse for not being with us yesterday morning.
I kind of did, yes. Yesterday was my day.
Breakfast in bed and all that kind of things.
Good.
Yes, that's right.
All right, fantastic. Good, folks. Well, I think we're just going to kick straight off. So Kevin has kindly agreed to share his story with us this morning. So Kevin, I think we're just going to hand over to you and you can take it away.
Okay, let me do the techie bit first. Okay, so can you all see that okay?
Yeah, got it.
Yep.
Brilliant, okay. Well, so it's putting this together has certainly given me some memories and some good memories of the years gone by. I've forgotten a lot of things and it's good to remember things again. I'll start with the family background. I was born in 1961 down in Devon, in the very southwest corner of the UK. The area Edward will know well. I've lived there all my life ever since. I've never lived anywhere else. My parents, you can see them in the picture there with myself and the wife. My mum, like myself, was Devon born and bred. She's always lived in Devon, never been anywhere else. But my dad was totally different. He had come from over 300 miles away, right across the other coast of the UK in Norfolk. And it was only by the fact that he came down to Devon on a holiday with his sister that he ever met my mum. So you could say that was good luck for me, really. I wouldn't be here otherwise. The family life was always good. I've always lived in a small village on the edge of Dartmoor. Lived there till I was in my early 20s. That was 600 feet above sea level. So we'd often get the snow, etc., in the winter times. And yeah, it was a good village life. It was a small village. Literally, the population of the village and the next village combined was only 500 people. So yeah, we didn't see much of the big world. So my mum looked after myself and my sister, who came along 4 years after me. She never went out to work while we were youngsters. She was a stay-at-home mum. My dad, he went through life. He was a lorry driver for most of his life with various firms. And as a child growing up, the best memories of that was when he drove a lorry for Coca-Cola. Most days he would come home from work and bring in some bottles of fizzy lemonade, limeade, cherryade, etc. But never got to bring home Coca-Cola. It was an odd thing. He was always bringing home bottles of other stuff. So my mum finally went to work in a shop when myself and my sister were old enough to be up in senior school. I've got a family in the USA as well as in the UK. The family in the USA is actually bigger than the one in the UK. My mum has a half sister who's 20 years her senior, and she married a GI after the war and went across to the US, then deep south in Louisiana. So she had 6 children. So at one point, when they were all alive, had 6 cousins in the first generation. At one point, then there were 16 in the next, and then 6 again in the third generation. Now that's increased enormously over the past number of years. I've got no idea at the moment how many cousins I've got over there now. I mentioned my sister. She came along 4 years after myself. Yeah, we got on okay as you do as siblings. As the years went by, we drifted apart for a long period. But we are now, we are, I won't say close, but we are fairly close now. And it brings home. Like, you must keep touch with your family. Don't lose touch with any of your family. It is important. The missing years, can't do much about those, but there you go. Grandparents wise, I only knew really one of my grandparents, and that was my granddad on my mum's side. So I never met any of my dad's grandparents at all. Best memories I have with my granddad was when I was a youngster, around about 7, 8 years old, I suppose, up to about 10. We used to go on days out at weekends with the local football team. Back in those days, even the trip from where I was to Torquay for a game of football, which is only about 15 miles, 10, 15 miles, they'd have a bus for the day. We'd all pile on the bus, have a trip down to Torquay for a game of football, and then call in the fish and chip shop on the way home. So that was a regular thing every couple of weeks. And yeah, that's the best memories I had of my granddad. He died when I was about 16, 17. Yeah, so I've had no grandparents since then. School time, let's say I had an eventful start to my school life. I started at a little village school, and the village was small. The school only had 60 children and 3 teachers. I went to the school for the first week. On the Friday of the first week, at pick-up time, just messing about as you do with a few friends. I felt like I broke my leg for the first time. So I'd been to school for a week, and then I was off for the rest of that first term, watching children's TV and doing things as you do at that age. During that time, as I say, family growing up, we used to have lots of family holidays back to Norfolk, where my dad came from. He had family over there, cousins and aunts, etc., that we used to go and visit. And yeah, the difference though, in those days when we first went, it would take an 11-hour drive to get to Norfolk for the holiday. So we had to go for 2 weeks to make it worthwhile, to be fair. These days, with the introduction of motorways, you can do the trip in 7 hours quite easily, possibly a bit less. So yeah, so it was like, none of the motorways in those days, going from village to town to village, through all the different places. The trip itself was made part of the holiday. And the picture you see there, that is in Norfolk. That was the last family holiday we had a few years ago. We took my dad back to see his roots and went round all these old haunts. So moving on from my primary school, I was lucky enough, there were only 6 children in my year at primary school. I was the only one that passed the 11 plus to go to grammar school. That in itself was I almost said wake up call. That was it was a hard time, I suppose, in some ways. I went from a year of 6 children, just that small pocket of friends, to a school of 1,500 kids where I knew no one. I literally got right in at the deep end. And I didn't really enjoy the first 3 years at grammar school for that reason. I was a bunch of nerves most of the time, worried about what was happening next, worried about catching the bus home. And yeah, didn't really get the enjoyment out of my grammar school days as I should have done. But from there, I went on to college. I got the number of O-levels and A-levels, as we were called then, went on to college. Took a course in business studies. Main thing that came out of college, it was quite an important part of my life, came from college. One of my friends on the particular course had a sister, and that sister was, in a few years later, to become my wife, who's in the picture. So college did something good for me. So moving on to work days. I started working about in 1980 out in the real world with Midland Bank, which was to become part of HSBC. I'm sure you're all familiar with HSBC. I started in Midland Bank, and a bit of deja vu really in that I started didn't even start in the branch. On my first week of work, I was away in Bristol on an induction course. Went there for the week, learned what you needed to learn on the induction course. Some other people from other branches. Was due to start on Monday, but came back at the weekend. Went playing football on the Saturday. Well, I say playing football. I didn't make the start of the game. It was a pre-match kickabout. I fell awkwardly and broke my ankle in 2 places. So again, started work. Didn't even get to the branch, and I was off for 12 weeks before I could even start working in the branch. Banking life did some good things for me. I did get up the ladder quite well to chief cashier at one point. The most memorable thing there was it stopped me from being a heavy drinker for the rest of my life. When I was due to transfer from one branch to another, so as you did in those days, everybody piled down the pub for a few farewell drinks, a bit of a celebration. And yeah, I was 19, 20 at the time, I suppose, possibly 21. Not used to drinking much. And the next day I was due on a coach trip, a sporting coach trip up to London, to Wembley. And people coming on the coach early in the morning with crates of beer, etc. Obviously, I was suffering from the night before, and that put me off drinking really for the rest of my life. I've never been a heavy drinker since. So could say that's a good thing that's come out of my banking days. From there, after working in a number of branches, I moved into an insurance company, London and Manchester Insurance near Exeter. They were taken over eventually by Friends Life, another insurance company, and that was the end of my days there. I had 8 good years at London and Manchester. It got a bit of it went downhill quite significantly near the end. Really, there was too many people there for the work that had to be done, and yes, I wasn't disappointed to leave. However, during my time there, I did have a bit of an event on one occasion when I was on my way to work. Bear in mind, I was still living in the village at this time. So we had a bit of snow around. It was winter time, a bit of snow on the ground. Set off, just about starting to go downhill, and the car decided it was going to have a mind of its own. So it played pinball with the hedges on the side of the road, and I ended up on the roof. The car was upside down. Bit of a fright. Found out after the event that I was very fortunate that the car didn't go up in flames because of the battery being dislodged. So you could say that was a bit of a close shave. Happy to get away with that one. Never been confident driving in any sort of snow or icy conditions since. So I mentioned meeting the wife at college. We got hitched in 1986, so we've been together now 34 years. So, you know, that must have been something good there for us to last that long. So happy 34 years. We've had our ups and downs. But in the career front at that point, as I left London to Manchester, I decided to try a few other things, and I went selling vacuum cleaners. If you think about a bit of a change from working in banks and insurance companies, I went to sell vacuum cleaners, as I say, around about 1993. Yeah, direct selling. I did all right for a while. It wasn't great, but I did all right. Learned a lot about selling, which was coming in handy later on. And from there, I went on to my first venture into the mortgage market. I went and joined a company called Phoenix Mortgages in Torquay.
Kevin,
I learned a lot there.
Kevin, sorry,
yeah.
Can I ask you maybe just try and get a little bit closer to your mic? Your sound is a bit scratchy. I'm not sure if it's the distance.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
let's go.
Thanks.
So I went to a company called Phoenix Mortgages. I learned quite a lot, and amongst what I learned a lot about how not to do business. You think you had a company that were doing mortgages for people, and they were using clients' money as they shouldn't do, and I certainly had a lot of lessons in how not to run a business, which was held me in good stead for 80 years. And while I was there, I got my introduction into networking, network marketing. First venture into Amway. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Amway. That because it's finding my age a bit, I suppose, thinking of Amway. Yeah, I thought that was these days. I never got successful of it. I thought it was going to be so easy. Of course, it wasn't. But it was a good grinding. I learned quite a lot there, working at the mortgage company, and that introduction to networking. While I was at Phoenix, at that point, I decided to go self-employed. I'd had enough of the company not doing things as it should have done. Learned the lessons. I picked up lots of contacts while I was there, and decided to go on my own in the mortgage business, writing mortgages and selling insurance. By this point, I'll come to the children in a minute, but by this point we had the family. So self-employment wasn't so much about earning the fortune at this stage. It was more about time freedom. I wanted to be able to go and see the children's sports days and see them growing up, spend time with them when I could, and work the hours that I wanted to work. And this enabled me to do that. That was probably the best part of my life up to then, work-wise anyway, being able to see the children grow up. I carried on my networking experience. I went to a company called Utility Warehouse. They're UK based, so I won't be familiar to any of you over there. I'm sure Edward is familiar with it. I did have a bit of success there. I did have a little bit of residual income from it. I was saving people money on their utility bills. And yeah, I was learning a lot. Went, picked up some good friends, and I was becoming more and more out of my shell, if you like. Now, if you remember what I said about my schooling days, by going into that big school from such a small background, large chunk of my life I was very reserved, very introverted, very shy, if you like. And it took me a long time to get out of that. And it was through my work in the insurance company it started, when I had to do a few presentations. I wanted to become a supervisor, and then from going self-employed and doing the networking, I was getting more and more out of the introverted life, if you like, which was a blessing. It took me a long time to do it, but I got there, and I feel I'm a lot more confident these days than I ever was years ago. While I was doing the mortgages, I ventured into will writing as well. It was a natural match. You think you're doing somebody's for all their financial matters, and one of the questions on fact find was always, have you written your will? So it seemed a natural thing to take will instructions from people as well, just to increasing the value of individual clients, so that I could still spend more time with the family, because I didn't have to sell loads and loads and loads of individual customers to make a living. And from that, in the last couple of years, I've moved into business travel, which again, I'll come into it. You all know a little bit about from my chats on here and in the chamber. So I'll move on. I've done this a little bit in chapters, if you like, so it's a bit jumping to and fro, but I still could think to run it. I'll touch on the family. That's a snapshot there of the kids and the grandkids. There are 2 more grandkids on the way, so that number is going to increase. My first one was Siobhan, came along in 1990. She made us very proud. She ran the London Marathon on her 18th birthday. She would have been the youngest runner in the field that day. And she was also, from a number of the things she did in school days and while at university, she was a torch carrier for the London Olympics in 2012. She carried the torch in Aberystwyth, but she was at university at the time. Rachel came along 3 years later, exactly 3 years later. She was born on Siobhan's 3rd birthday. She was very musical, and Siobhan played the flute. She was in musical, but Rachel was a level up from that. She played the clarinet. She was in an orchestra, a children's orchestra in Exeter, got to the stage of being lead clarinet in the orchestra, and they went on a tour to Russia. It was the highlight of her time there. And before she went to university, she went to Russia on the tour of the orchestra when she was about 16 years old, 15, 16, and brought some great memories from there. She went to university as well, went to university in Cheltenham in Worcestershire. She did history. She's now got the 2 boys. That's the smallest one in the picture, and the one on the right. And she's pregnant now for the 3rd one. Tom came along in 1998. A bit of an afterthought, we could say. 5 years later, we weren't expecting Tom to come along. In summary, Tom's a football nut. Anything to do with football, he just loves it. He laps it up. He's just finished university doing a football course at university. So he's looking to get involved in a club, doing a website, doing the media, that sort of thing with a football club. And he's only just finished university, hasn't got his results yet even, and he's already started working on a football magazine online to develop into a paper magazine all about non-league grassroots football. Moving on to my sporting successes. I've always been a bit of an outdoor person, like to get involved in sport. I played golf from an early age, from a junior age. I joined the golf club while I was still at school. When I was late teens, I was 19 years old, I achieved my hole in one, 179 yards. I remember it to this day. It's not something you forget, and I'm not likely to get another one, I would imagine. I also was a member of one of my local clubs. There was a hole on this particular course, which was the longest hole ever to record a hole in one in a Guinness Book of Records. And I drove that green 495 yards. It's not as good as it sounds in that the hole itself, it was a dog leg with a very steep downslope for the second half. And then hot summer day, took a lucky kick and bounced all the way down the hill, bounded on down the hill of the green. But I'll still live on that story. In 1984, I did my first London Marathon. I've now done 4 London marathons and 3 others, so 7 marathons in total, and countless half marathons. You can see the picture there, some of my spoils, some of my medals. That's just a small portion of them. That's not all of them by any means. And with the football income on my son, I played football until I had the accident with the shot mentioned when I broke my ankle. I played until then. Only at low level, village football, grassroots. But as a result of breaking the ankle, the doctor said I should rest on my laurels. Said that that's it for exercise. I wouldn't have that. So as I say, London Marathon was starting up, so I went in to do that. And I took up refereeing. I thought, well, if I can't play, let's referee, stay involved. And I had 25 years refereeing football. And that, apart from anything else, it certainly helps your confidence when you're in charge of 22 other people and in control of them and bossing them about and laying the law down. Learned an awful lot, very, very confident as a result. Next thing you can see on that slide, it says prison. Now, it doesn't mean I was in prison for anything. During my time as a football referee, our local prison, we've got an open prison not far from where I live now. They joined the league and I had to play all their games at home. I was fortunate enough from refereeing. I got their second ever game they played. I went and refereed. And it was a bit of an experience going into the prison, getting escorted from all the way through to where you had to be for the match, and then refereeing a very local level football match with 600 inmates around the touchline. I think it's a good definition of the word intimidation. But it was an experience. They were certainly fit. And yes, I'd served for 25 years as a referee. My running career, I came back to my second running career effectively in 2008 when my daughter ran the London Marathon. I joined the local club, English Trotters, been there ever since. I'm now the membership secretary there. We've got 300 members. We're always out with a small group of us. Obviously, lockdown at the moment, we've got some restrictions on us, but I still get out 3 times a week with a few of my buddies that are in the same sort of standard as myself. But we're all itching to get the club back and running again, and hopefully that'll happen soon. But yeah, the Trotters have helped me over the years with improvements, and until I reached the peak. And you'll see on the next slide, my running career took a bit of a dive. I've had a few challenges over the years, shall we say. Around about 2005, this was when I was still refereeing at that point. I developed, I was driving the motorway from Bristol one day, and I had the radio on in the car. I was trying to whistle to the tunes on the radio. In fact, I couldn't. I was just sitting everywhere and not getting any success at all. And face felt a bit queer, and I didn't understand what was going on. My first thought was, I'm having a stroke. Thankfully, it was nothing like that. I was familiar with what I had experienced. It turns out I had a Bell's palsy. Basically, it affects the muscles inside your face, and it's treated by steroids. Fortunately, the steroids didn't help me running, but that's stuck by the way. I was a novelty from a GP for 6 months. They don't see a case of Bell's palsy more than once every 5 years, apparently. And it was 6 months I wouldn't wish on anyone, to be honest. And you have to have your eye tight shut at night, keep it from moist. You have to drink through a straw. It was a challenging 6 months, but anyway, I got through that. Now, during 2017, I was starting to struggle a bit with running. I was getting a bit breathless first thing in the morning. I couldn't get going for the first mile or so. My daughter suggested I ought to go and see a doctor. Now, they started doing tests on me in March 2017. Numerous breathing tests and oxygen tests. I lost count of how many times I was going in to see consultants and doctors, etc. Finally, in December 2018, I was diagnosed. Just a chance conversation with a consultant, gave me an overnight test, wired me up overnight to see if that would tell me what was going wrong, and said I got sleep apnea. Apparently, I was stopping breathing 29 times an hour during my sleep, which was why I was breathless and died the next day. In 2019, January 2019, I started on my machine, and I've been on that every year since. I literally put the machine on, that gives me oxygen during the night, stops the breathing issue. The score now, instead of being 29 times an hour, it seldom gets a bit above once an hour. So it's made a massive improvement. It has helped my running enormously. But then getting back in the swing of things, I had a bit of a setback in September 19. I tore a meniscus in my knee, running along, and almost that felt like I'd been shot. You had to pull up the knee on. And so that was me 5 months of not being able to run, could barely walk to start with. Yeah, so which brings us right through to the end, to getting back to running, which is why I'm now starting a beginners group effectively again within the club, helping others get going. I'm not worried about time to myself anymore. My goal in running is to help others improve and get their goals. So I've gone through a few challenges in recent years. That's, in essence, that's made me stronger. It's not going to stop me anytime soon. I'm certainly not going to give up the running until I have, you have to put me off the road to stop me running. A club mate in the trenches had a double knee replacement, same age as me, and he was running a sub 3 hour marathon within 12 months. So age is an issue. I know the age is an issue. I'll just keep doing the best as I can. So that brings us through to the present day. I'm now, in the travel club, heavily involved. While on lockdown, I've learned an awful lot on social media and how to do things. And I'm not going back to doing mortgages, etc. when this is all over. I might do the odd little bit to help my existing client out. I'm focused fully on the travel club, and it's going great guns at the moment. I'm on residual income already, more success than I've ever had in any other network marketing company. In fact, my business is currently the second biggest one in the UK already, which I'm very proud of being in that position. I've gone international. I've got team Lithuania, South Africa, and Armenia, and I'm currently talking to someone in Australia. So, so that's where we are now, right back to current day, and obviously pleased to be in this little group with you guys as well, early in the mornings, and that's the end of my story. So I'm off screen share for you.
Great, thanks.
That went okay.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you. The sound was a little bit scratchy, unfortunately, at times. I'm not too sure why, but I think we got the bulk of it. Just amazing story of perseverance and comeback, as I said in the chat box there. All the things that you've been through, and to keep on coming back, I think is quite amazing. So real inspiration of not giving up. So well done for that.
Thanks very much. I certainly feel I've achieved quite a bit in my small part, over the years.
Absolutely, yeah. Great. All right, so we just take a quick whip around the group for any other inputs or comments. I know some folk were really struggling to hear, unfortunately, but we were trying to keep the thread of it going in the chat box as well. So, Edward, maybe we can start with you if you would like to.
Yeah, I didn't catch how many marathons you've done, Kevin.
7.
Okay. Yeah, because the club you run was a big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're very active, yeah. No, I think that's amazing. I knew about your sleep apnea. I didn't know about your hole-in-one and being in prison. Thank you.
I can imagine trying to referee a football match with 600 inmates standing around. You must be quite intimidating, as you said. So
it was.
Yeah, good. Mpulela, let's pop across to you quickly.
I think for me, it's just fascinating how different life can be for different people, depending on the different part of the world you're in as well. It's just quite a great experience to see a wider picture that is international. But also, I have to say, I'm fairly encouraged, Kevin, to say that if you set out to do something, even if health may become a problem, one does not let that become something that puts them down. And I can imagine that, you can have a spiritual challenge. There's ways to work around that, but the physical one has a tendency to make one feel like there's little I can do now, because you feel the physical pain. But to have to move beyond that one for me is fascinating. I've never come across that. I've never had health problems, but I can only imagine, So yeah, that's fairly encouraging. So I even feel like when I get to your age, I'll still be able to do so much because you're still doing so much. Yeah.
If I can inspire a few people, I'll be happy with that.
These youngsters, they've got no idea what the old folk go through. So let's go to one of the old folk, Trevor.
Well, I'm thinking, what's old about this boy? How old are you, Kevin?
I'll be 60 next year, sure.
You see, he's a youngster, for goodness sake, man. What I was, listen, I was disappointed in your prison story. I really thought we were going to make a breakthrough, and this boy had been locked away for 10 years or something. There was going to be a big one, but anyway. Kevin, your travels, where did that take you to? I saw the Dubai and I saw others, but where have you traveled?
I haven't been to any of those places yet.
Oh, okay.
My only real travels was a school trip to Germany, and I've got family in the USA, which I have been to a couple of times.
So what's on your bucket list? So what are your top 3 travel destinations now on your bucket list? Number 1.
Well, I'd like to get to the Disney area as the grandkids are of the right age to enjoy it.
Over in the States or in Europe?
In States, in Florida.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to get to your part of the world to take on board a safari of some sort.
Yeah, well, you better start talking to a few boys in the know here, because they can take you around. It's just up the road, yeah.
Yeah, and 3, I'd like to get somewhere like Norway for the fjords or that side of stuff.
Fantastic.
Yeah. There is a little follow-on from what you said about the prison story. A few years after that, when they had been allowed to come outside, I refereed a cup final that they had reached. Now, the trouble was, just before the cup final came along, there was some misbehavior in the prison, and the warder refused to let them go out. So they had to field a scratch team of warders, etc., and lost the cup final 16-1.
That'll teach them. Oh, goodness. All right, Stella, let's pop across to you.
Morning, everyone. Thanks, Ivan. Thanks for sharing your story, Kevin. That was very interesting. So first of all, I'm very jealous about your grandchildren. They look so adorable. What a blessing to have grandchildren. And your kids are very talented as well with football and the daughter playing in an orchestra. Yeah, so that's quite nice to hear. All-rounded kids. Also, yeah, I was very impressed with your sporting life and the fact that you refereed for 25 years. That was very impressive. As they say, don't judge a book by its cover. I wouldn't have expected that you would be a referee. But yeah, well done. And what's stuck out for me is because you, from a total different background than us in South Africa, but one thing that is common between no matter where you live in the world, I think, is the passion for family, and that family life is important to you. So that was nice to see in your story. Thanks for sharing your story, and well done with all your businesses that you took globally. It was impressive. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks,
Nozipa, pop across to you.
Thanks. Thanks for sharing your story, Kevin. I'm interested to find out during the times when you came across challenges from your health challenges, when you had to stop playing and become a referee, to your later health challenges with breathing and sleep apnea. My assumption is, like, if, for example, I had a breathing problem, that's just how my mind works. I'd probably panic. I'd die of panic more than anything. Like, I'd literally think, can't breathe, dying. So I want to know what kept you holding on, like how you managed, like how you bounced back with the sporting and became a referee. I also want to know later on, when you had health issues, how did you get through that? Like, what made you hold on? Like, what gave you hope that you were going to beat this?
I think I just treat it day by day and stay positive about it, Ziva. It's, you know, I think we're all positive people in the room here, and that's what I'll take on board with it, really. Right from like when I broke my ankle with the football, as I said, the doctor said, "Well, you've had your time in the spotlight. You should give up now. Rest on your laurels." This was when I was only about 21, 22 at that time, and there's no way I was going to vegetate and sit on the sofa for the rest of my life. And it was round about that time, and I said the London Marathon was just starting up, so it was there all in front of you in your face on the TV. So I thought, that's an idea. I said, let's do that instead. So, I've got pins in my ankle from an operation. Doctors told me not to do anything else. And I'm buying running shoes and deciding to get out there and see what I can do on the marathon. It's just up here, and you just got to get on with it. Our time will come. No point in giving into it. You just want to keep going.
So great, thank you. I like how you say it's up here. I think, one of the best things about telling stories during this time, thanks to Wisdoms, is that we get to see the resilience in people. But that also just gives me hope that whatever it is that we can come across, even with this pandemic right now, we will get through it. Like, I see how people have overcome a whole lot of challenges, and it tells me as a people, we are capable of getting over things. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Nazip. I think absolutely that, John. And clearly, never tell Kevin he can't do something, because you're going to prove you wrong anyways. So great for that. Yeah, Cecile, let's get across to you.
Kevin, lovely story. 3 things I want to know. Number one, well, I'm also a referee, and I think it's just fabulous to be a referee. I'm a squash referee, but I need you to tell me 2 things that were scratchy at the time. Just explain your hole-in-one again, and then the third thing is I couldn't also hear what business you have now. I could hear that you say that it's the 3rd biggest or 2nd biggest in the UK, but I couldn't hear what it was.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my hole-in-one was, I must have been late teens. I hadn't been playing very long, about 18, 19. It was 179 yards. I hit it with 5-iron. I didn't even see it go in the hole because there's like bumps, etc., in front of the green. But my playing partner said, "I think you've got that one." And yeah, I had it. It was straight in the hole. You don't forget things like that.
Well,
and they said the current business I'm in is P2S Travel. It's a travel club, wholesale travel club, helping people travel the world for far less.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, doing very well.
Well done. Lovely. Okay. Maybe one day we'll come and visit you in Devon.
Yeah, it'd be lovely. More than welcome.
Yes.
Right, thanks, Cecile. Donovan, let's get across to you. Donovan, are you with us?
Frozen.
I'm not sure.
Sorry. Yes. Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me. I'm really struggling with my internet connection. Yeah, I was touched when I mentioned about suffering with sleep apnea. I can somewhat identify with it because I was diagnosed with borderline apnea. I don't need treatment for it, but it does tend to somehow affect your health, etc. So I really admire him for overcoming that part. And the question I had, I think, was just answered now about your network marketing business, where you're really excelling. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Donovan. Jeffrey, you there? Jeffrey, are you with us? No, not getting through to Jeffrey. Okay. Lee, I think let's go to you, and then we wrap up for the morning.
So Mpumelelo says, it's interesting how we can, lives can be so different. But I grew up in a small village in the middle of Zimbabwe with a dad who was a lorry driver for Coke, and had exactly the same experience of him bringing home fizzy drinks, and you know, you had your 2 crates per month, and so I just thought that was funny, just to, you can be across a continent and just I could just see you having those are like our special treats. Yeah. So thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate the time you took, and I hope, I mean, when you said it brought back many memories, I know others who've shared their stories, just the process of thinking back and kind of putting it into an order and a process, and that in itself is a journey, and just as you said yourself, I think, you know, you realize how much you've done in your life and how much has happened. And so thank you for sharing, and thank you for enriching our lives by giving us the opportunity to listen to your story. Really, really appreciate it. So for tomorrow, I'm going to pick up on Trevor's question around what's on your bucket list, because I think about Kevin persevering, but it's like it wasn't just a dig deep and, you know, I've got to be resilient. It sounds to me like there was something that was drawing him, whether it was family or whether it's travel now. There's things that are saying it's worth getting out of bed for. There's something that I'm anticipating, or I would love to have in my life, or there's something that's exciting that I'm looking forward to. And it could be simple things. I remember one lady, a good friend of mine, a little while ago, she wrote 50 things she wanted to do before she died. And it's actually not a simple exercise. You can think of the first 10 or 20, but 50 things. And one of those things was swim naked in the sea. That was something on her bucket list. and I'll never forget her text message to me and said, yep, ticked, done. And I could just, it was such a lovely moment of happiness. So think about it and tell us tomorrow, what are the 3, 4, 5 things that would be on top of your bucket list? We would love to hear. So look forward to hearing that tomorrow.
Great, thanks, Zee. Thanks, everyone. And special thank you again to Kevin for his story and inspiration of perseverance and achievement. So well done for that. So have a great day further, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you with your buckets tomorrow. Hopefully they're full. Cheers now.